On the one hand, you say you are inquirer, you are a seeker of truth. You want truth. On the other hand, you are not ready to listen anything which is unpleasant.
I'm ready, Swami. I'm ready, Swami.
I was listening to one Swami Anubhavanand. That means one who lives in the bliss of experience, his own experience. Anubhav means experience. Anand means bliss. So these are names for sannyasins. So he was speaking on a book called Abdhut Gita. India has such inner treasures, and in thousands. If you talk about China, maybe they may have 5-10 books or 100 books at the maximum, but India has so many people, so many enlightened people have spoken so much. Vivekananda has said somewhere that if you, all the books all the scriptures which they have spoken, if they were all preserved, many of them must have disappeared because of very old time, or no one was there to follow that tradition. And then these Islamists came and they destroyed in millions. So if all of them were there, then it could, you cannot keep it in the biggest library of the world. So much they have. Maybe he was saying that it will take one round of the whole earth, something like that. I've heard long time back. So I was listening to his speech on Abdhut Gita. So he was, hello?
Hello, Swami.
So he was talking about five kinds of great fears. Two of the fears are related with your gross body. One is old age and diseases, and the other is death. So we have great fear of these two if you are identified with your gross body. When you see some old man, some sick man, then you say, God, this should not happen to me. I should not, my life should not suffer that much. I should die when I am perfectly healthy. I should not be so unlucky to remain on the sick bed. This is the fear. The other fear is that of death. Everyone is afraid of death. If you are identified with the gross body too much, like you always claim my body, these fear will be there all the time. Then the other fear, second fear is, these are two fear related to the gross body. Then two fear related to the pranic body, the vital body, Ilan vital. That is of thirst and of food. So when you are identified with your pranic body mass, then you are always concerned that if you go to somewhere, what kind of food I will get, whether I will get clean, hygienic food or not. Whether if I have diabetes, whether I will get small amount of food 10 times a day or not. So that means you are identified with your pranic body much. And the other is of thirst. So you are concerned about whether you are going to get clean water or not, or you will have to buy bottled water. So these are four. Actually, it is 6 fear. And this after that, the third fear is related with mind. With mind also two kind of fear. One is of suffering or sorrow, mental suffering and sorrow, and the other is of infatuation. So there is one is physical pain, the other is mental suffering. We can imagine a lot of suffering or whatever we have suffered. These are in our memory. So we are all the time suffering that we want to avoid something which has happened in past, or we are brooding a lot about what has happened in past, or we are afraid that it should not happen in the future. And the other is infatuation. So whatever we like, we become infatuated to it. We are afraid that it should not go. We cling to it. This is infatuation. This is not love. In Hindi, it is called moh. And that suffering is called sok. He didn't say all those things in detail because he was going to talk on Avadhut Gita, so I stopped there. Before that, he was talking about six kinds of ignorance or agyan, which it is very famous in India. In every school of mysticism, these are taught. So this is Kam, Krodh, Mad, Lobh, Moh, Matsar. Kam means lust, sexuality. This is our bondage. Krodh means anger. Lobh means greed. Moh means infatuation. Mad means pride. And Matsar means envy, jealousy. These are our disease, our inner psychological diseases. As long as you are identified with these things, you cannot progress much. That's why witnessing is the way. And witnessing means once you have understood little bit that whatever you are able to witness, you become separate from it. But we start scratching all those things instead of creating the distance, being a watcher on the hill. We start getting identified with all those diseases. Or we are all the time concerned how to get rid of it. The real knack is to be established in witness and then watch from a distance, like the clouds appearing in the sky. Cloud can be of many types, but the sky is none of those. But if the sky gets identified with that, then it will no longer be sky. Like if the mirror become identified with whatever is reflected in it, and if it sticks to it, then it won't be able to reflect other things. It will become like a photo plate. Once you have taken a picture, you cannot take another picture on that plate. So one has to be like a mirror, not getting infatuated with anything. You have anything to ask?
I want to ask something about Bhupender.
So what you were saying about Bhupender?
Actually, the question I want to ask is about Seeker because is not only about him lah, but since he said this, then I will ask. So that day you told me he told you that his journey just began right? His journey just began But my question is, previously he also has gone to his your master's camp in his also like in a way like a seeker lah. So actually, what does he mean that his journey has just begun? Hasn't his journey begun in the past when he has like gone to meditation camps and all that?
You are in a great hurry to declare that you have become enlightened. So all the time something happens and you are on the cloud 9. So if you are a somnambulist and you are walking while asleep, you will call it a journey. And for millennia, you were just living a complete unconscious life. Now you have just started scratching something and you think that going to one time my master's camp, 2 times, 3 times to me, and you will call it like. Thing is that this has to become very clear where, in what direction you are going, what is the significance of the thing which you are searching. You may have started something out of greed, that these people look so silent, so peaceful, so ecstatic. So I should also move in that way. And you must be, in your stupidity, thinking that it will happen within 10 days. You have to understand, you have become human being. This is the final thing in this earth. This body, you have got it. After that, whatever is, you don't even know. So, that's why in India it is said that after Herculean effort, after great grace of the God, you get this human body. So this is the only body through which you can be liberated. Even if you become angels, devas, at the maximum they can go to heaven. And heaven, when I say heaven, I mean more like a psychological state. You have known the ultimate pleasure. Those people who have known that kind of ultimate indulgence, they can be called devas. Those people who are in ultimate suffering psychologically, they are danavas. They don't have any power of discrimination, so they go on falling in ditches. But if you want to be liberated, only human body is needed. This is the crossroad from where you can go beyond all the bodies. Because as long as you are interested in pleasure, You are bound by the pleasure. And pleasure and pain both are dual. If you want pleasure, then pain you cannot avoid. Both are together. Once you have chosen one side of the coin, the other will be there. So, you have within you, in your unconscious, you are still carrying all those patterns and tendencies of all these animals. You have to make your whole unconscious, remove all the darkness from there. You have to face everything. Then only you can go beyond it. So when he said that his journey has just begun, that means now he is becoming aware that what kind of significant and meaningful pursuit he is moving into. I may not be using the right words for these things, but so once little glimmer of light is there, then you know, then you don't want to lose it. Then you feel, before that you could have been lost any. You have started your journey, but you can go back anytime. And that has not happened to him even now, that he cannot go back. But he is moving towards it, that now perhaps it will be difficult. Once you get the glimpse, once you have some glimpse, then you know that other than searching for your inner nature, everything is just like dreams. It's like waves. It's like bubble. All these pleasures are just fleeting. You are not getting anywhere, where you are not reaching anywhere. You are just moving round and round. So this is the only significant thing. We have very little time in the body. And once this body disappears, you don't know what is going to happen. So you have to make yourself so mature that you have found something which cannot be lost. Then the agency comes. Then you know that there is so much darkness is there, so much unconsciousness you have collected, that has to be removed. In comparison to that, you will say that my journey has just begun, because so much has to be done. I have programmed myself, conditioned myself in such a way, and it is not going to disappear immediately. I need to be totally sincere about it. Otherwise, it will never go. It can happen in an instant also, if your sincerity is absolute. When you are just, but you may just force yourself one conscious part that now I am completely going there. But it has to reach to each and every cell of your body, mind, and soul. That you have only one desire, to know yourself. Whatever you are doing, you may be doing anything, but each and every breath of your life, you have dedicated to that. Because when desires are there, by just suppressing them, you cannot be free from them. So whatever desire is there, you add consciousness to it, and then this will become your sadhana. Everything will become your sadhana. Even smoking a cigarette can become a sadhana. Even going to prostitute can become a sadhana if you are alert what you are doing, if you are not asleep. Whatever you are doing is your meditation. Anything, nothing is, then everything is sacred. Then you are on the holy ground all the time. That's why they say that this very body, the Buddha, this very earth, the lotus paradise. So he is becoming aware that little bit of asleep, little bit of unalertness, and you can just fall, you can drown. So that's why in India it is said that it is treading on the edge of the razor. It is like walking on the rope. All the time you need to be balanced. If you have tilted to one side, then you have to move to the other side. Go on creating balance all the time. Even about J. Krishnamurti, Osho said that the luggage has reached, but the man is left behind. Because if others are making effort on you, and they are trying their very best, but they are imposing on you, you may not be totally ready for it. It is not your own 100% decision. That's why he said the journey has just begun. So he is being conscious that there is a journey. Otherwise, he may have been just imitating. Others are going there, so I should also go there. And it is always the beginning. If you have the ego that you have reached somewhere, then that is the beginning of your drowning. This vast infinite universe, you cannot claim that now you have reached. And who will claim that he has reached it? It will be always your sickness, your ego. Is it clear or not?
Yes, clear, Swami.
So you are all the time in hurry that you will reach to that state, and then you can again go back to your stupidities.
No lah, Swami. I also actually, after asking about Bhupender, like I also wanted to ask, am I on the journey, Swami?
You are on the journey, but you have to be very alert. Once the journey begins, then only you can fall. It's like Osho said to one of the enlightened man I have been with, Sadasiv Bharti. He was listening to Osho while he was speaking on Astavakra Mahagita. So one day he asked Osho that, listening to your discourses, all my fetters are broken and I'm liberated. The dark night is over. I don't remember exactly. In fact, I don't remember his word, but something like that. Osho said to him that something has definitely happened to you. But that should make you very alert. Because those who are climbing the Himalayas, only they can fall down. Those who are just moving on the plain ground or crawling on the plain ground, where they will fall. They have no danger of falling. So only those who are moving up, they can fall down. Jill fell down and what is it? fell down and came tumbling after.
Jim fell down and Jill fell down and Jim came tumbling after.
Not Jim.
Jack.
Jack came tumbling after. Or Jill came tumbling after. Jack fell down and Jill came. Jack fell down and Jill came tumbling after. Whatever has nothing to do with that poetry, but so once you fell down, you will tumble. You will start tumbling. And even if you want it, if you are falling from the height and it is a sharp fall, then you cannot stop on the way. It's like the game of Ludo. You have played Ludo or not ever?
Heard of it. I don't remember what game is it.
You have played the game Snake and Ladder?
Yes, Snake and Ladder, yes.
That is Ludo though. So Ludo has two games usually, which in India one is this and the other is you have to reach to home. So in this also you have to reach to home, but even on the 99th step is this mouth of the snake. So once you reach, if you reach to the 99, then you have to go to the tail, and the tail may be reaching to 0 or somewhere. So you have to begin again. I played long time back, so I don't remember, but it goes very down. It goes to 0, I think, somewhere. But I've heard Osho saying that this game of Ludo was invented by Christian mystics to show you something, that when you are on the path, when you are a sadhak, then you have to be all the time alert. Otherwise, just one step before the home, you can fall down. In India, we call it Yog Bhrast. We were almost reaching to the union, but some desires were there, or you started having some inner power, and then you started demonstrating it, exhibiting it, and then you are lost. You become a sadhaka who was very authentic, and now you are just man of ignorance, man of indulgence only. When I am saying indulgence, I am not condemning it. You can indulge consciously also. When the consciousness is lost, everything is lost. Kabir has said somewhere that before I was just not looking at anything, but now I am just gazing at the beauty of the God. Everywhere I can see, even on the beautiful face, I can see His beauty. When the ignorant man is looking at something, he is staring. And the word in Hindi is niharna, for what is the word? Gazing, or I think gazing. There is maybe other word also. For you're not staring. You know any other word other than gazing?
Gazing. I only know gazing, Swami.
You did. If I had told you, you would have said, I know that also.
Yes. Gazing.
Become just old. Should be little interested in literature and poetry. All the time you are just on your computer.
Okay, Swami, I will find some poetry to read.
No, if I say poetry, I don't mean that it has to be all the time poetry. It can be any literature. I told you long time back, I think. I told Bhupendra also, before also, this time also, read this book, Siddhartha. It's about the whole human journey. Anytime you can fall. You may be a great sadhaka. You may be going to the extreme, but then there is a possibility you can go to the other extreme. And even Osho has said in his commentary on Buddha, I think in the very first lecture, that those who have searched, they have even found the master. Somewhere there is one stage from where there you have to travel alone. Even master cannot take you. Because you have to reach your insight. So master can indicate, and then one day you will become totally alone. That doesn't mean that you will just become indifferent to master, but now you have realized that from here on I have to, otherwise I cannot reach to my being. But this problem doesn't happen to those who love. On the path of love, you can just dissolve in the love. So Osho's word is, जिन्होंने खोजा उन्होंने गुरुओं को सदा कम पाया. That means if you translate it, those who have really searched, they have found all the master that something is missing. So because your individuality is your individuality ultimately, but you can be misled by these kind of words. You think, oh, this is my individuality. So the danger is always there. The guru has to be dropped, the master has to be dropped at the very last. But we try to drop him in the beginning while all other dreams continues. Is it clear or not?
Yes, clear, Swami. I have one question, Swami. Just now you said like, even if we are smoking, right, we can make smoking into sadhana. So does it mean like when you are smoking, you watch what you are doing and the watcher is there, then that means this is sadhana, is it?
There is a Zen story which Osho has said that some disciple asked to his master, "Can I meditate while smoking?" The master said, "Absolutely, certainly." Then the other disciple also, who was also addicted to smoking, he went to the master. He said, "Can I smoke while meditating?" He said, "No way, not at all." Then this man came very disappointed. He said that he allowed you. The guru is very partial. He allowed you and he told no to me. What kind of master is he? The first disciple asked, "But what you have asked?" He said that, "I asked, can I smoke while meditating?" So the first disciple said, "Your question was itself wrong. The emphasis has to be on meditation. While you are smoking, if you are meditative, then that becomes meditation. If you are totally alert and conscious, whatever you are doing will become meditation. It is not a question of what you are doing. If whatever thing you are doing cannot be meditation, then meditation is just a 1 hour thing or just a Sunday affair, Sunday church affair. So if you are meditative, everything will become meditative. Your awareness, your consciousness changes the quality of everything. So whatever you are doing, it may be anything. If you are present, you are totally conscious, that very thing becomes meditation. Otherwise, even while you are meditating and you are thinking about 1,000 other things, then it is not meditation. There is another story that also Osho has said many times that there was one mystic, his name was Farid. So there was one very fanatic kind of, exactly the story I don't remember, maybe I will be saying it wrongly, but I will tell you the essence of what the story contains. So one very fanatic he was a kind of landlord and very cruel also, not king. So he heard that there is some mystic. He may be anyone, but I just want to say you this the essence of this story. So it may be Nanak or Farid, whomsoever. So I think in this story it fits more like Nanak, because Nanak was not a Muslim. So he wanted to convert you. That man was a Muslim, that landlord. He wanted to convert Nanak into Islam. So he invited him for Nawaz. Call it invitation. In their word, it is called dawat. Dawat-e-Islam. That means they're inviting you to enter into Islam. So this landlord, he gave this invitation to Nanak. And he said that you come with me, we will go for the prayer, this Nawaz. What do you say, Salat?
Salat.
Now you just distort everything in your own way. Salat. I will not say Salat, I will say Salat. In my own Indian way.
Okay. Salat is in Malay, Swami.
I am not Malay, so why I will copy them?
Okay.
Salat. It looks like a Bengali or a South Indian way. I think all these Malays their root must have been in South India.
Yes.
May have come from South India sometime to that place. Though I don't know, but I feel like they look like South Indian.
Not quite, Swami. Their skin is more fair and their features not really South Indian.
If you are living in some country for hundreds of years, you will change somewhat. But you are eating, your food habit is different, everything is different, your philosophy is different, your ideology is different, so the change will happen. So that may be the reason. They may have come thousands of years back.
Yes.
Now you have to see that Bali is almost 90% or something like Hindu. How it in Indonesia, how they are there. Maybe they have converted everyone to Islam there, and only Bali remains not converted.
Yes, Swami, yes.
So this is everywhere you can find there are some traces. Even in Makkah, they say some of the people claim that this stone which they are worshipping, it is actually Shivling. Shiva's symbol which the Hindus worship. And now Wasim Rizvi is saying that they were all Sanatani before Muhammad came. And he said that there must be something wrong in Muhammad because the man who knew him for the longest period, his uncle, Muhammad tried to convert him, but till his very end he refused. And they call him the most perfect man. The most perfect man could not convert his own uncle. Because they were image idol worshippers. Muhammad destroyed all, but he could not destroy this Kaaba stone. And even the Muslims are idol worshippers because they are all the time facing the Kaaba while praying. So you are giving form to you whatever you are doing. So he invited Nanak for Nawaz. Nanak said that, okay, if you start praying, I will also join you. Then the man started his prayer, started all his genuflection. Then and once in a while he was open his eyes and he saw that Nanak is not doing anything. He felt that this man is very dishonest. He promised me that he will also do, and he is just standing there looking at me doing nothing. Then he quickly finished it and became very angry. He said that you say that you are a religious man and you are a liar. You promised me that you will join, but you were just standing. You didn't join me in the prayer. Nanak said that if you had started, I would have joined you. You didn't start. So why should I join? How could I join? He said, now you are lying in extremes. You are going far out. You saw me, I was praying, and you are saying I was not praying. He said, no, you were not praying. You were just selling horses. Then the man became shocked. In his mind, it was the thoughts were about horses. That I will two of my best horses I will sell and then I will get this much money. Then he realized his mistake. So even while you think you are meditating, you may not be meditating. You may be selling horses.
Yes, Swami.
So what you wanted to ask, and is it clear or not?
Yes, clear, Swami.
But what you were asking, what was your question?
What I was asking was I wanted to know like how to make like even smoking into a sadhana. Like let's say if I'm cleaning, how do I make cleaning a sadhana? So you answered my question, Swami.
So for 3-4 years you were just sleeping. All the time I am saying you, every day I say that whatever you are doing, be present to it. Be there where you are. Be in the here and now. Don't go in the future, don't go in the past. Your mind will go, but then you bring it back. But you don't want to do it. 1 hour is easy. Somehow you will force yourself. But 24 hours is not easy. But that doesn't mean that you have to become concentrated. You have to be violent to your mind. You just try to enjoy whatever you are doing. Try to be present in an effortless way. That is self-remembrance. You are You bring yourself all the time to the present. Once you are in the present, you are conscious. So it may be for a while. When you forget, you again remember. Once you remember, you will be here. And make it like a play, like a sports. If you are serious about it, then you will become destructive. You will force yourself, and then you will become schizophrenic. Then you will land in some hospital. Then you will blame me. Is it clear or not?
Yes, clear, Swami. If you like our videos, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And send us one apple a day. Because we want to eat food from the tree of knowledge.